Hi, catch-up crew.
I
So
get
yeah,
up.
little weirds. I've got some stuff about plants and terrible men and dogs were kind of the three themed ones that I picked. But I also have some fun, just like really weird ones to the side in case we still have time. So we can chat for a bit longer if you want, because folks just got Doro, you got here pretty recently, or we can start reading. It is up to you. To you, friends. I will take the quiet as people would like a story.
Yes, please. I am sitting comfortably.
Okay. Oh. Nice, Andrada. If there's anything I'll want to listen to later, let me know. So yes, I'm gonna start us off with some nice stuff about plants then. So these are selections from Little Weirds by Jenny Slate. And I'll probably take a break in between a few that are themed to have a drink and we can have a chat about them if you folks want, because they're pretty short. Geranium. A mistake has been made about wildness. I was in another country. I was in a small town on a northern sea. All around me were sheep with big bells. They walked silently through the night, and I could hear them passing. And they were not bleating, and they were not straining against the dark. I could hear only their bells, but I could imagine their bodies and their forward linear movements in the dark. I could smell their muddy wool. Where I was, there was also a rose garden. There was a castle there built in the 1600s for a woman named Karen. How does that feel? Hey, Karen, it's like 1617. I built you a castle with rose gardens. Inside the castle, I couldn't pay for marble, so I painted the wood to look like marble. Karen, it was the best I could do for the person who I believe is the best. You're the best, Karen. I made you a castle. The window sills in the castle were deep and made of stone. In my own life in another country and hundreds of years later, what had happened was this. I was born at the time of year when small heroes bravely stick their neck stems out for all of us, but every molecule of blind faith on nature's natural rhythms and win for all of us, making us clap. So that happened first. Then I started to learn and I ate a lot of salty things and became obsessed with things like seashells and breasts and the word refreshment as a food and drink option that is supposed to make you feel a feeling. And I started to fall in love all over the place. I also rode bikes, failed at group sports, but succeeded in a love of water and swimming. I was scared of dogs and then obsessed with them. I got in trouble for being wild. I got in trouble for my feelings at school and camp and then always. I got in trouble for not paying attention to things that seemed boring to me, but are now gorgeous to me, like clocks and compasses and calendars. I had always a wild call that I wanted to ring out to the world. I knew it always. I wanted to be an actress. I often felt like a bird in a house, and I felt that people reacted to me that way, so I started to try and find ways to do my wild work inside spaces. I started to find spaces where I could bring wildness inside. I started to find a way to still be myself, but with the group. I tried the start of a life with someone, and it didn't exactly take, but it didn't exactly flee. And I had to let it go and be out there and hope some part of it would wander back to me, like an animal that went out young and had to live in the wilderness and came back. And wherever it is, that it would come back, this life, this love. I had to stare into its face and say, is it you? And then we would be friends, at peace with the idea of being two creatures who started together but needed different environments. But that's the future, and I am talking about the past. Then I was all alone. I bought a house that was built roughly 300 years after Karen's castle was built. The house was empty and waiting for me when I eventually ended up in Norway, looking at roses and cold seas and laughing about how actually old the name Karen is. I was in another country. In conversation, I made a wish. I said it out loud to a group of new friends. I said I wished red geraniums could be a houseplant. I said I knew that they were for outside. But couldn't they be for inside if I tried to truly understand them? We all sort of said that they probably could, but nobody knew. The geranium is a hardy little mother. You can hardly kill it. It takes a lot to kill one. I'd never seen a geranium in a house as a serious thing that was really happening on purpose. We were invited to have dinner that night in Karen's castle. In every window of the castle, in every single window, on every single deep stone windowsill, was a red geranium. My heart stopped, or maybe it jump started. I saw those geraniums and I felt my wild call ring right out into up there. I saw them, and there was nothing but double doors to spirit, to everything, blasted open, tilted up. I thought, why would you not believe in this thing? Why would you not believe in such a small thing like putting this hardy red plant in your house? I had a call for what I wanted, based on who I was. And Karen's castle had given me a big blazing sign that said, "Yes, ma'am." At camp, I used to pick off the red flowers from the geranium and sneak into the bathroom and rub the petals on my lips, making lipstick, tasting the plant. Even as a little girl who got in lots of trouble, I picked this plant out and said, I like to use this for my own beauty. I am a wild thing, but I wanted a home. I am wild and I want to be that and to belong to the greater group and have everyone know that my wildness is nothing but a bit of my colors and has nothing to do with whether or not I can be trusted. A geranium is a wild thing. It is so wild you can hardly kill it, but it does not take over your house if you put it inside. A geranium in every single window of a castle is a wink to me, even if it is just a plant to you, maybe even a plant in the wrong place. Sitting in a kitchen in Norway over breakfast, my heart broke at the idea of someone thinking that the plant was in the wrong place. I talked about that heartbreak. I felt my heart clutch itself. It was breakfast and I didn't want to cry. There was a handsome stranger sitting across from me. But I am wild, and a tear fell right when I tried to open my mouth. My body will always show what my inner situation is. My body will never let me lie. I was almost gasping. I realize I am wild, but I do not want to be sent to the wilderness. And I looked across at my friend and at the handsome stranger, and I made up my religion right in front of their faces, and I said the first line of my own holy book. I believe that wildness belongs in people. I believe that wildness belongs in the home. I believe this and I belong in myself and in my home. My gods are inside of me first and foremost, and the mother of all of them is the wild one. There has been a misunderstanding about wildness. Bring it in, bring it in. Bring wildness in and care for it. Place a shell in your shower. Get a whole plant in there. Put a geranium in your kitchen. Stand in your space and howl out. Bring it in or go out and see it. Wildness is the mother, the first thing, not a lurking predator. Wildness is holy. I am a geranium that is hardy and wild, but I want to sleep in a neat little pot. I belong in a castle that was built with the determination and ingenuity of a person who is deeply in love. I feel the warmth vibrating through the centuries, and that's why it's hard to kill me, even with a frost. I feel the warmth from the heart of a woman named Karen 300 years ago, who got everything she wanted, who brought these plants inside, maybe. who brought wildness into the place her love built just for her. He put her name over the doorway. And
That's so beautiful.
This person being wild and bringing wilderness in the house, like it's like I wrote it,
I
I
feel
know,
except my name's not Karen.
I feel quite sorry for somebody who thinks a geranium is wild, though.
I know I've mostly just seen them outside. Like if they're plants that grow outside and you're used to seeing them grow wild around your house. Like I'm pretty sure she lives in California. I think she grew up in Colorado or Massachusetts. It says in the book somewhere. We might even find out in the book somewhere today.
I also feel sorry for anybody called Karen in this day and age, but
Yeah, me too. My poor aunt.
Yeah.
my manager's got it double because his name is Karen.
Oh, that's tough.
So not only does he get mistaken for a woman half his life living in, the West, he also is now mistaken for that woman.
Mm.
Oh no.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Also, Lyric, I like your shirt or jacket or the thing that
Thank
you're
you.
wearing.
It is a shirt. I bought it because I was like, that looks like something an angsty kid would wear in the late 90s/early 2000s. I want it. It is soft.
It looks great.
So, I'm torn about what to read next, but let's die and then we'll do something beautiful. Or something a little more reflective. There's a few of them along this theme, but because we all love terrible men so much. This one is called I Died Listening. I died. Oh God, I did die. Some man was standing right in the middle of the room talking about how he knew now was the time for men to listen. And he was proud to say that he knew how to listen. But strangely, he kept talking for so long, and I was the one who was listening. And so then what happened was that my head twisted around on my neck and faced the wall. But that didn't seem to bother him. And it certainly didn't stop him because I guess he was on a roll. And then he just walked around to the other side of me and kept talking. But what he was saying was so obvious, but backward and wrong, but to tell him that would have caused a big bust up. And even though my head was on backwards and my brain felt, not at its best, I was still aware that two very bad choices were being shoved at me. Tell him that he's right, or at least on the right track, and therefore lie and also abandon myself and cause more damage by letting his ignorance and monologue go on forever. Or tell him no, he is not even close to correct, that the fact that he is pontificating and instructing and not actually conversing is a sign he does not even remotely understand. But then, after saying that, I would have to weather the storm of his humiliation and frustration and somehow end up feeling bad about myself. Like I should have been gentler and treated him like a child who simply doesn't know any better. Or should I have been grateful that he was interested in talking about listening at all? But then again, he was demanding to be treated like a man who does know how to listen, while he was asking me to only listen to him and lie to him and maybe give him a prize. And I was so chilled by the reality of having to choose between bad and worse that my heart became flash frozen and then it cracked in half. And so what I'm saying is that basically my heart broke almost right away. I thought, oh great, now I've got a backwards head and a broken thingy. I tried to sit very still, but inside me, the blood couldn't go around because there was no working heart to pump it. And he was still talking, even still. And what happened was that my backwards head, which was already under a fair amount of stress from facing the wrong side of my body and only offered a bad view, which was the man, mostly man, and then the wall. Well, my backwards head sort of tore off at the neck and dangled down. just hung there for quite a while, which was unsightly and embarrassing. Oh no, I didn't want to look ugly. The man was getting irritated because I guess I was making a face and rolling my eyes. But what was hard about that was that my head was dangling upside down, and so my eyeballs were, to be fair, rolling around. He started to ask tense, defensive questions, to which the answer was clearly supposed to be, no, no, the problem is not you. It's other worse men who do crimes and things like that. Even though it was him, probably all of us, all. As my eyes rolled back in my head and I saw into my own mind, I caught a glimpse of some old messages scrawled on the walls in there, and I thought, the bad thing has gotten into all of us, and we all need to get it out of us. When I started to think about how it certainly is all of us that have a bit of this bad thing in us, the shards of my frozen heart really began to prick at me. My dangling head became heavy as a wrecking ball. And then my head just completely disengaged from the rest of me. It fell off and it bogged down on the floor. I felt it roll slightly away, but I didn't know how far it had gone, and that was stressful because I wanted to have some control over my head. I didn't want to be rude by kneeling down and feeling around on the floor for the head because that might make it seem like I was distracted or not listening. And the man was already so strangely angry, even though I was the one falling to pieces. And everything he was saying was in favor of keeping himself together and also never changing. Even though everything he was saying was being said to dismantle and destigmatize and delegitimize the humane system I believed in, the one that demands equal rights and good old-fashioned empathy, the one that would strip him of his excessive privileges, the one that celebrates things being various, multi, plural, open, and requires him to explore being truly vulnerable. I wanted him to understand that being vulnerable is a different thing for everyone, is a developed and specific skill involving perfect specific actions that are terrifying. But I couldn't really get a word in edgewise, as they say. I really did feel concerned about where my head might be, and I could feel my blood as it stalled inside myself. I was taking a breath, maybe every 3 minutes, and I started to worry that, this was not going to work out for me, because that's just not enough. It's nowhere near the amount of breaths that he was getting to suck in and snort out. But then again, I didn't want to seem like I was being inattentive, because recently I let the man in on the terrible secret, which is that many men interrupt and disregard women and do it religiously and don't even notice that they're doing it, but also gain power by doing it, even if they do it without thinking, without what I guess you would call consideration. And so now, if I ever interrupt the man, he would tell me in my own language how painful it is to be interrupted. He would explain in a voice that sounded so much like my own how I am not considerate, even though I am considering a lot. And yes, that would confuse me because he would sound just like me, even though he wasn't me and had never had any of my experiences or experiences much like my own. I was now in a position of being a hypocrite if I didn't honor his experience of my experience. In an effort to be helpful, I had revealed the terrible secret. And I guess it made the man feel so scared and defensive that all he could do was appropriate my whole experience as his and then accuse me of starting the problem. My eyes were still rolled back in my head, which was somewhere on the floor, so I couldn't see it, but I heard him say that he felt unseen. It's hard to even describe what it's like to have someone use your own revelation of suffering as a way to accuse you of being cruel. It doesn't matter because my head fell off and I'm dead now. But I must say, I really did not start it. No woman started it, by the way. I can say safely, from the comfort of the great beyond, that the patriarchy and misogyny are neither the fault or the invention of women. Get out of here. Get out. Get right out of my life with that and get the hell out of my death with it. Let me rest in peace and quiet. Where was I? Oh, yes. So then, even though my head was lost on the floor, Somewhere, and the thoughts had spilled out. Some of them were trying to jump back up to me. But in general, it was a poor showing, and the thoughts I got a hold of didn't really seem to go with each other, and I gave up. But just when I was about to surrender the whole experience and accept that my head had gotten away from me for good, I realized that what was happening. I took it seriously, and from my head on the floor, I screamed, "I see that you're trying to kill me. I see it." And then the whole thing that had happened, not just to me, but to so many people, and well, honestly, it was so incredibly overwhelming that I just stopped caring about what he thought, and I went right around and felt around and finally found my head, and I cradled my own head in my arms. My face nuzzled into my breast, and my hand stroked my own brow as I comforted myself in pieces. I looked up past my heart, past my former headspace and into the sky, and my mouth still had a voice, and it murmured to my heart, "It doesn't have to be like this." And then I died. And actually, I have no idea what he did. He might still be talking. So if you are alive out there, I'd advise you try to keep your head.
Wow, that was something else.
It was like bizarre and relatable, right?
Yes, yeah. It's like, I know what that, yeah, yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially the losing your head part. I was like, you really took that metaphor and doubled down on the cliche and just fucking went for it.
Yep.
Yep,
The
Andy.
thing about like the breath part about like, oh, I've taken the breath like 3 minutes ago or something, or when it was, I don't know, it was really good. Yeah, I
Yay.
like that.
I'm glad y'all are liking it. Okay, I have one more longer one that I think kind of goes with those, and then we should have some time to read about dogs, hopefully. And if we run late and you want to hear a nice story about a dog, I will always end on the nice story about the dog. Actually, I'll let you pick because there's half an hour left. I have one that's really beautiful and reflective and kind of ties in some of the themes from the previous two that we've read about just like men and reflection. That's quite funny and absurd. Or I've got some about dogs. Or we can try to do a bit of both.
I'm always going to vote for the puppy.
Ah, yay, meeting a cute dog at climbing. Okay, so do you want all dog for the next half hour or one more reflection? What are you thinking?
I want a bit of both.
I'm quite happy with both.
Yeah, cool. Andy is saying both in the chat. Okay, sweet. So we're gonna do both then because I like both. I'm glad. This might be my favorite piece in the book, actually. It is gonna be the longest one I read today, but just like, I really like all the self-reflection in this, you know? It works well for me. Blue Hour. At the end of summer, after many returns, waking up in safe, muggy gray mornings by the Atlantic, after a brief trip to New York City, during which I got my picture taken a lot, feel both gorgeous and also that there is no place in life for me in that city anymore. After I go back to Massachusetts, so heavy with heat and an orchestral din of nighttime bugs, skunks under the porch, old people coming out of the woodwork to say, "There's a whole group of sisters on the Hurwitz side that you never met because of how your great-grandmother died in the fire." After my sister gets married in the darling and pure dash of light, I spend 2 days eating leftovers, feel a heavy heat in my body, and leave. But right before I left, it was the wedding. I spent the wedding weekend with couples. I was not sorry for myself. I was just fine. I was more disturbed that it seems impossible to me that I will ever find someone for myself after all of this. I am bitter sometimes, I think. Why should I have to sleep alone? What is wrong with me? What happened to my allure? which in my last decade seemed almost problematic. And during the wedding, I was working on forgetting the past, letting myself only have the buoyant and real glee that was the soul of the event. But it was harder to hang on to my newfound knowledge of contentment with solitude. The jostling and interrupting was occurring. I put my own habit of fretting over myself on hold. I let myself be a drifting wisp in the wedding. A young man said, "Hello, are you the sister of the bride?" "Yes, I am the older sister, but not the oldest sister. I am the middle daughter, and I am here by myself." And then the conversation begins, but it is very boring. The reason I think that it will be hard to meet someone who I am actually interested in, is that I cannot stand these preliminary moments when you can't deeply know each other and be together forever. My ex-husband says to me on the phone after I tell him that I am lonely and I think I am weird around men, that I'm not weird, but that I am trying to force an intimacy that needs time to grow. He's right, and he knows me very well. The other problem is that lots of people are simply not the right fit, but somehow I always make it my fault, even though it is nobody's fault at all when you don't fit. The man here is talking to me about something about computers, and I just can't listen, well, because I don't like computers. I can never love him. There's no way of getting around it. I can imagine him drinking apple juice and eating graham crackers and having crumbs on his wet mouth, drinking that juice that is the color of pee-pee. Not a good sign. He's telling me something that I don't care about. The next thing that happens is something I care about. My deep self jumps in to protect me from being bored and starts to tell me something that kind of slides over what he is saying. I make sure to provide a listening face for the talking fellow, and then I let myself listen to the voice deep inside me. My deep self asks, "Would you like to hear something that is useful to you?" "Yes, but aren't I doing that thing that I'm supposed to stop doing? That thing where I'm either forcing the intimacy or completely ignoring somebody?" "You only force intimacy because you have a hungry heart and you have been displaced. It is a condition of the heart based on your situation. You are looking for a place in another." "I'm tired of looking for a place in another." "I know. That's why I'm here. I found the place where you're supposed to be. I figured it out, and it leads to all the other places you will ever want to go." Great. This man is starting to talk about his trip to South America, and I think I can hold the listening face a little longer. Can you make it brief? "Unlikely. I'm from you." "Okay, go. I will stick my finger in the cake while this man talks, I guess. Why do you have to stay here pretending to listen to him?" "Good point." I just walked away from the man saying that I have to use the bathroom, but of course I am going toward the bar. I'm going to drink wine and watch my grandmothers as they sit or dance. "I'd really like your undivided attention. You've never given it to me before." "I haven't? Who exactly are you in me? Are you my date to this wedding?" "I'm you, you know that. Don't be a smartass just because you're drunk. Maybe now is not the best time." "Okay, but I'm glad you're here. And will you not give up very easily? Please." "No, I will not give up. I'm here to remind you that there is more than this one moment of being uncomfortable. We'll talk tomorrow." I woke up the day after the wedding and I was in a state of contentment. I had breakfast in a clean dress by myself in the hotel. I wasn't thinking about alone and fine with that versus alone and devastated. I was working on new terms with my deep self. I scanned the newspaper and I said, "Okay, let's get a new plan together. Do you have any thoughts?" "Yes, I've put together a little list of oaths and goals. If you live by them, you will clear a path to the place for you." "Great, let it rip." "Okay, first, you will wear all monochromatic outfits." "Oh, damn, this is what I've been waiting for." "You'll have hardly any plastic in your house." "Yes, I get it. Go on and I won't interrupt, but just know that I am in." "I know you are. More now. You will not turn on the TV very much. You will take the houseplants seriously, very seriously. Maybe even researching how to fix things like mold or gnats in the soil. You will cook yourself meals and stop doing that thing where you wait until it is the time in the evening when you are both hungry and lonely and you end up getting some huge soup delivered and then you splatter yourself with it. You will really let the dog know that he is your companion and you are his. Yes, I know you. I just want to interrupt to say that I forgot you, and I'm sorry, but I do know you. It's fine, listen now. You will be cleaned by your own focus. You will not be seduced into self-indulgence. You will become a peaceful authority who says no to that voice who wants to undermine and splash you with the gloop of self-doubt in an effort to stall your emergence. You will tell yourself that good, gentle civility and loving self-discipline are essential. You will not be exhausted anymore by the fight with the misogynist in your psyche. You will remember that the misogynist in your head is peddling propaganda that has been written in your own blood, forged in the fires of your own personal hell. You will admit that this has been a very big problem for you. Oh my goodness. You won't let the idiots and the assholes get past the front gate of your heart. They can yell from the sidewalk. They can yell terrible things because they are shut out and they can't stand to be let go. But you will not let them in now. Oh, damn. Yes. Repeat this in your head. There are no odds to beat anymore. Just some real junk to dump. You dump your junk. After you dump it, you don't sort it in your mind. You dump your junk and you walk away. You wear all one color on the inside, swirl with every color on the inside. All wear one color on the outside, swirl with every color on the inside. You walk forward. You keep your head angled up so that you can see over the fray. You protect yourself and all the little weirds that make up who you are. We sat there and had the coffee and the eggs in between world and the often scary but necessary space between the old patterns and the new behaviors. I didn't know it then, but I'd made it to the Holy Land. I can't remember the plane ride home, but if I'd been cheering in the sky, that wouldn't sound like gossip to me. It would sound like a reasonable report. And now it is, which is the future. I've been living with myself. I've been living with the creed I'm trying to say what changed. I was at the end of a long wander, a long time of separation. I thought the separation was one from other people, but of course the call was coming from inside the house, as they say. I write this in a small room in my home. During the time of the morning when it is cool and blue, everything is a variation of eucalyptus. Outside, the air is blue and the leaves are types of blues, and the chill in the air is a good blue as well. I am running cool too. There is no sun up, but it is not night anymore. It is the in-between time that most people say is just for animals to wake up in. The space between the day and night when ghosts have to go back to the flat realm where they file away like love letters, apologies, curses. I am awake in the blue hour, and I sit on the chair in a nightgown just out of view. The ghost is whirled away and replaced with a lizard that creeps up an eyelid by my garage. No stores or restaurants are open yet, although I'm sure there are some people baking already. In the places where other people will go inside, hungry and wearing their t-shirts with their babies, with their loves. I am here, in this time of the morning when nobody is apparent but myself. I now look so forward to this time before the world is on. I wake up, and I am tired, but once my feet hit the ground and I know that it is still very early, I feel relief. The kettle waits for me. I open all the old windows. I am a young woman still. I have cropped my hair to my jaw. I am not taking any more nonsense. Outside now, everything is shifting to shades as the day sweeps in. The first thing to go from blue to green is the grapefruit tree. Then from blue to fuchsia are the bougainvillea. Then from blood blue to juice red are the geraniums that I require. They fill boxes. They make a fringe of fire around my house. Peppermint geranium, which is the only big furry leaves, no blooms, only scent, switches from blue pads to green-gray fans of fauna. My small, tidy breathing, soft sighs on the soft thighs on the chair, my hands touching each other, my eyes open and steady, my life. It was not a necessary choice at the outset, but now it is certainly a point of pride that I functionally dwell in the realms that I was once afraid of. The darks and the in-betweens, they all fortify me. I am a citizen of many dimensions, and now I slip between them easily. I never slip away from myself by simplifying myself. I can't become smaller to fit into a crouching love in somebody else's meager world. I don't do that anymore. I have calmed down. I have consolidated. I've come through the reckoning that I require. I have crept into this blue hour so gingerly as to not disturb or bounce it, or not to disturb it, or bounce the sun up into the sky. I can still travel from the early morning world of still blues into the clip-clop of this green daytime regalia without seeming like I stayed too long at the dark party, and now I'm in the day by mistake. There's a time of the day when there is no light. Did you know that? I never let myself know that before, but now I know it. And I face the day when it is still dark. I face the darkness with the faith in the light, without any rush. I shift and slide with the time as it flows forward. I am not a wandering spirit. I am a walking woman. I have a place in the shifts. I don't have to wrangle intimacy anymore because I am engaging with it constantly, with the intimacy within, so that I can be a part of this chill flux. I didn't feel like this before, when I was more scared. But now I wake up when the dead are walking their last loops and the newest drops of dew are pouting on the persimmon. I don't have to wait to be here anymore. An animal like me lives all the time, everywhere. I didn't feel it before, but now I do. All of these times, the hours where you can't see anything, the ones where you can see your whole form, and all of the ways that shapes and shadows fall in between. These are all hours during which I have given myself permission to keep time. I am that mysterious stranger that I hoped to meet. I met her at a dark dance. We came here to live together until I could stay by myself. The place is here. The time is now. This is all my lifetime. And now we can go on to the dog, my other favorite one. This is my favorite one of the silly, wholesome vibes. Kathleen, dog flower face. Oh, there's a message in the chat. And yes, she's back at the geraniums. That's why I wanted to read the geraniums one first. Yes, Kathleen, dog flower face. I don't know who used to live here. Only I live here. Me and the old dog. I hired a woman named Kathleen to come and make a fence around my house so that I could be safe in a self-imposed pen, like an old goose or a young pig, like both really. I hired her to start me a small garden of plants that would bloom throughout the year so that there would always be a flower to say hello to when I returned home. I was incredibly eager to tell her what plants I loved and to make sure she would not give me anything like an azalea or somehow misunderstand me and just roll up with a bunch of cactuses and gravel and make me look like a severe woman who has no idea what's going on. Having no idea what's going on is my central fear most days. I told her that I wanted people to come through the big garden door into my pen and feel a rush of wildness and color and to encounter many different green forms. I wanted to present a big, full energy markedly different from the stress of whatever is outside my walls. I told her that I wanted my garden to be like the inside of what I see in myself. You see my garden, you come into my home, and it tells you not just what I like to see and what I want to be around, how you should treat me. I am the live thing that belongs here with other live things like this. This is what I told the woman named Kathleen. Kathleen patiently told me about the plants and flowers that could live in my garden. My small old dog walked with us, and we looked at the sunlight and shade. I pointed to a bunchy blue burst of flowers growing on the hillside, sort of a vine that didn't lie flat, a bramble. The flowers that looked like the shape of fruit, and I always liked it when those two images, fruits and flowers, gesture to each other. I like that, and I always have. And I like it when fruit is in a flower arrangement, and I like it when flowers are in the salad or on cakes. And I like it when fruit are on women's heads, in their hats, or if their whole hat is fruit. I have always adored a cornucopia, of course. I pointed at the Blue Hill flowers and asked her, "Can I have that kind?" She told me that I could certainly have it. And then, very seriously, she said, "The only thing is, the dogs love to smell the blossoms, and they are actually very sticky. So your dog will have flowers on his face. And I don't know if he'd like that." I would like that, I told her. What I didn't tell her was that when she asked me that question about flowers on my dog's face, she showed me that a legitimate option for experience, a true one that is real and deeply concerned with beauty, could be mine. This was my home and my world, and the future was all geared up and ready for pleasure, and we were getting specific. Do you or do you not want flowers that stick to a dog's face? Yes or no? If yes, I was a citizen of the world of breezes and sticky dog face flower. With every small choice, the world was emerging. What would I like from all of it? I didn't tell Kathleen how dear it was to me that she told me the sticky flower fact in total earnestness. I didn't tell her that even though everything about me really points to liking things like flowers on animals' faces, I was pleased that she did not assume. Because in making sure, Kathleen gave me the opportunity to say out loud to another person that I would like my old dog to have flowers stuck to his face. And when I said it out loud, that yes, I would like that, I knew it was true. Then I admired myself. What's more, I felt tenderness about my personality and my choices for delight. I said who I was on my land. I didn't tell her she was making me more than one garden, one outer, one inner. I was woozy as I watched a space open up inside of my inner me garden, a space that would be private just for me, in which I could observe myself and be private as I gazed upon myself. I didn't tell her, "Hey, Kathleen, you've revealed yourself to be a woman of wonderful character," rather than being unconsciously lazy and telling me something. She had reached out and grabbed a moment. No, she did not miss the moment, this woman, Kathleen. She asked a question, and so much bloomed, and the plants weren't even there yet. What I didn't say, because I selfishly wanted to keep the sweet sap of the moment swelling inside myself undiluted, was, actually, more than anything, I would like to have my dog have small blue flowers stuck to his small face as often as possible. And now that you mention it, I want this more than most things that I want. But most of the things I want are like this thing, and it is a certain type of person who feels this way that I feel. And I'm proud to be one. And now I see that I must really not forget that the style of what I find beautiful is incredible to me. That it is incredible to feel lucky to want what one wants. To be able to see the rings of yourself this way. And honestly, Kathleen, I am dead serious on this one.
Very, very, very beautiful. I'm so sleepy. I'm just falling asleep.
Do you want one last one about waking up in a dog?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
All the ones about the dog. And then I want a dog.
My God, I know, right?
With or without flowers.
think ideally with flowers for me. There's something about the idea of a dog with little flowers stuck to his face that just makes me so happy. I really relate to this book on that level. Where is dog? There we go. All right. Dog paw. You are not quite awake yet, but the dreaming is done, and so is most of your sleeping. You are waiting inside of yourself, waiting to wake up. You are still behind the curtain that separates awake and activity from sleeping and dreaming. You sense that you are waiting to wake up, but you also know that you are asleep. It feels tensionless, like watching a flag wave, like coming closer to a shore after a pleasure sail. You have a feeling like being happy for someone who has achieved an honor. It is you. You're happy for yourself that you have received the honor of a new day on which to ride. You realize that you love yourself easily in this gravity-free space between the worlds of waking and dreaming. You are dear to yourself in the morning, and it is the morning now. It is very private to have such a love for yourself. Closer, closer to the curtain. How funny. Your face is right against the curtain now. How funny to know what side of it you are on. You are asleep. How wonderful. Pay attention. On the other side of the curtain, a small white elderly dog is moments ahead of you. He decides. He decides to come up to where your head is, to where your eyes are closed. He has observed you for over a decade, so he knows where your doors are. He knows your hand is a door to your heart. He has seen you drag your hand over your eyes to wipe away drops of sorrow. He has seen you place the hand on your heart or press it against the hand of the ones that you love. And so, while you feel the gentle rustle of your creature that you keep, you still stay asleep. But now you sleep with the attitude of a person who is about to walk into a surprise party that you are guessing might be there and that you really wanted, because it proves that your friend loves you. You feel the force of love pulling you into the day, and you keep your eyes closed. You could maybe float out of the bed. Your palm is open. The dog presses a small, dry black paw into your open hand, and the curtain between dreaming and waking worlds blows away, and the day is opening to you, and you are invited in by one of your dearest companions. And you sweetheart, you good creature, one of your dearest companions is this old animal. And he has said nothing, just this gesture, paw to palm, on purpose. He has spoken the most important thing, which is, here we are again in a new day. I want you to see it with me. And this description above is an example of how you can gaze on yourself with love when nobody is there to do it for you. But you can make it so that your own loving gaze is truthful and not obsessive or vain. You can wake up like this, be this, and tell yourself that this is an example of how a day can start on Earth. Let's all go get dogs. Catch-up crew, if this isn't on gallery, there's a lot of enthusiastic nodding about dogs. That one was shorter than I thought. Do I have another nice dog one? That's the loveliest of the dog ones, at least in my opinion. I think my Kindle's frozen, so we can take a moment to chat and I'll see if there's another one if you want, or we can wrap it up here depending on how sleepy people are.
I really want a puppy.
I know, right?
And yes,
Thinking
I do consider 20-year-old dogs who can barely walk anymore to still be puppies.
Oh, they totally are.
All dogs are puppies.
Well, this is frozen.
for like all of their lives. You call an old dog puppy and it'll be just as excited as a puppy being called puppy.
Yeah.
It's interesting how well that works with the animals, but not humans. Like if you call a human something you call a small animal, I guess other than baby, people take baby as affectionate. I still always thought that baby was a weird one though.
Some people have a fetish about that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like if it's your fetish, all power to you. Yeah, I guess it's a context thing. I guess in context, some people like to be called puppies. Too. How are y'all doing?
I wouldn't mind.
I'm enjoying the contrast between like cozy, sleepy Doro and Andy being like, yeah, I've been dancing, energy.
I've just been doing so much today and now I'm all sleepy. But I'm like very comfy sleepy. I'm happy to sit here and listen to stories. Yeah.
I think I might go hang out with Lee for a bit because there was the proposal for gin, and because I've been doing things in the evenings, we didn't hang out as much recently.
That's fair. You could always bring Lee here to drink gin, but it's okay if you want to hang out with Lee in person on your own and drink gin. Okay, I think we might wrap up there. And that way, if there's another chance to do more stories from this essay book, I can pull the last few favorites that I wrote down because I don't want to do all of my favorites in one go. It's not that the others aren't good, but I just only wrote down my absolute favorites.
That's fair.
Well
Please tell Lee that we love her. She's an awesome.
I will.
Thank you so much for reading.
You're welcome. I'm glad y'all enjoyed them.
Very much.
I really like this. Yeah, it's different from other things we've read, so I wasn't sure how people would feel about it.
I might have to come back to them because it was a bit weird to try and focus on both the reading and the music at the same time because I'll get distracted by bits of the music and being like, yeah, dancing. Oh shit, I missed a bit.
It's okay because they're written like by someone who I'm pretty sure has ADHD. So if you tune out and come back in, you can usually get back into it. There's like the same sentence might still be happening.
Can we say goodbye to the catch-up crew?
Yeah.
Bye, Ketchup Crew.
Bye, Catch-up Crew. We love you. I hope you hang on to all the little weirds in your life and get to play with dogs.
All the dogs.